Hey, Stephanie, how are you?
I'm great. How about you? How are you doing, Jonathan?
Good, good. I'm glad to be here. Tell everybody where we're at right now.
So right now we are at the Plump Room. This is my baby. This is my first business. I'm very excited about it. I actually just opened my doors in June, so last month,
Nice.
and it's been going amazing. I love it here. It's in Coral Gables, right behind Miracle Mile. And I absolutely have been enjoying every single day as an entrepreneur. It's different because I've been an employee my whole life, but it's awesome.
Hi, my name is Jonathan McLean, and I'm the founder and CEO of McLean Aesthetics.
Welcome to the dark side.
Let's go.
Nice, nice. How do you tell us a little bit about the Coral Gables area?
Honestly,
Yeah.
I have no idea about the Coral Gables area, except I know it's really fun and
Yeah.
I know it's very central to a lot of my patients right now. So that's why I chose it.
Nice.
I did not grow up here, if I'm being honest, but I just think it's so central. When you tell someone Coral Gables that's from Miami, they're like, oh, it's right around the corner. It's right there. And that was a selling point for me in choosing my location.
Nice, nice, nice. So tell us a little bit about the business. What services do you offer here?
So at the Plump Room, I wanted to start off with the basics, the things that I know best, but I will be rapidly expanding. I'm going to be taking some more courses coming up.
Nice.
Right now, we're doing dermal fillers all over the face. There's no restrictions there. I love fillers. I think they do a lot for people. And obviously Botox, neurotoxins. We do Juvo, Dysport. We'll be adding some more goodies soon. Microneedling is probably something also that I do I'm very passionate about because it's fixed my skin so much and peels too. That's something that I really love.
Super cool, super cool.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about why did you become a nurse practitioner instead of going to physician assistant or other specialties?
I love this question. So rewind. I went to nursing school.
Yeah.
Back when I was in FIU, I had no idea what I wanted to do for a living. I actually enrolled as criminal justice at FIU because I was just confused. I had no idea. And then my dad said to me, he said he's in healthcare as a paramedic. And he said to me, why don't you go into nursing? Take a couple classes, take anatomy, see how you like it. I took a cadaver course at FIU, and as strange as that sounds and maybe gross to some people, I loved it. I love the cadaver course. I thought it was so cool. And then it was just the rest was history. So we did nursing. And then immediately after, I knew when I was at the bedside, I said no. I said, love and respect what everyone does at the bedside, but it's not for me. It's a little bit triggering and it was a little bit hard on me. So I decided to go be a nurse practitioner, maybe work in a clinic setting.
Yeah.
It was just the natural route after nursing school. So interestingly enough, as a brand new NP, I just thought, well, maybe I'll work in primary care. Maybe I'll work for a doctor's office, for a practice. I would have been more than grateful to do that. However, a girl that I was in the sorority with at FIU, she reached out on one of my Facebook posts that said I was looking for a job. And she said, my med spa's hiring.
Wow.
Yeah, just chance. I promise you. I did not seek it.
Yeah.
It found me, as they say, right?
Yeah.
So I said, absolutely, because as a new NP, you just want any opportunity, of course. You want it. So then that's when I fell in love with aesthetics. I mean, I know the story's long, but I was like, I had to get it all in there because it was just chance. It found me, you know? But
Super cool. Super
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Now looking back, do you think anything in your history that would have added up to you being in this field or?
I would say I've always had an interest in the beauty industry, but I almost just chalked it up to it being a hobby or an interest and not ever it being a career thing. I just always had an eye for just the beauty industry, just how, different styles or how trends change. And I was very interested in that. Yeah. And I'm like, that's a nice hobby, but it wouldn't be a career. And it's funny enough, it just blended together for me, which is great.
Nice. Super dope. Super dope.
Mm-hmm.
I always like when people really love what they do. You
Yeah.
know, when you love what you do, you bring a certain passion to it, a certain identity to it.
It's an awesome industry.
For sure. Now, I always ask injectors, you know, usually an injector is really good at one thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're good at everything, a lot of things, but they're usually good at one thing that really stands out. What is your one thing that really stands out or that you do the best?
I want to say, based on my first year of business and based on the last 4.5 years that I've been injecting, everyone comes back to me for lips. You know, they come back to me for the lips or how, you know, my style. And then also the fact that their Botox is consistent. So one thing that I've heard a lot in this field is that they'll go to a physician, for instance, and it's great one time and not so great the next time. And I do try to educate people because sometimes it's not their provider. You know, I do like to defend other providers because sometimes it's, you know, maybe your movement is different or maybe what you requested, the effect ended up being something different. So I think because I talk to people and they let me change their dosage and their units, that's why it's consistent, because I'm telling them like, hey, we're doing a different amount of units today. I know it's not what you're used to, but if you want it to look the same, we have to do this. Yeah. So that's kind of where I take pride in that I can make it consistent. And also I do very, I guess, natural work. Because obviously anything that causes any kind of change is going to change the dimensions of your face. But they like that they can come get filler with me and they know they're not going to walk out a whole different identity, right?
For sure. Now, consistency is key, and I love that you bring that up. How do you, I think the biggest question is, like, when someone comes in and they're newer and they're trying to paint a picture of what they want their face to look like, how do you get that picture into your head or translate that?
Love this question. Great question too. So usually I'll walk you through what it's like when someone comes into the Plump room. Usually it all starts with, sometimes they write me notes on their appointments and I kind of have an idea of what they're going for, but that's not always the case. So I have them sit down, I give them a mirror, and then I have them point. Because some people just don't know how to articulate what they want. They just know what they don't like or what they see that they want to fix. So what I have them do is point at the areas that they want addressed, and then area by area, I explain to them, you know, in terms they can understand what we can do to help it, if we can help it, or if I can't do anything for them, you know, so it just depends. I also talk about, right in the beginning, I also talk about their budget and how comfortable they are with moving how fast. Like, do you want to do it all today, or do you want to do one by one? This industry does have a psychological component to it. I think that when any little thing will change, especially on your face, you need a little bit of time, you know, even if it's not drastic, because who knows their face better than themselves, right? So when you notice a change, you're going to want to have that time to settle into those, even if they're positive, to just settle into them. So that's kind of what the consultation looks like for us here at the Plump Room. I just let them talk. I let them talk, and then I'm like, okay, if we do this, this is how you're gonna look. If we don't do that, it's gonna look funky. You know, it's the whole concept of facial balancing.
For sure. Awesome. Now, being a newer injector when you got your first job, and that was amazing how you got it. Most people, it takes like months and months and months, so that was amazing.
Truly.
But what were some warning signs or things that you wanted to look out for, or that you can suggest now looking back, that you would have asked yourself or did before accepting the job?
So definitely the first thing that comes to mind is make sure you read all your paperwork and make sure that you know the terms of employment and non-competes and non-disclosures. You have to realize that every business needs to protect themselves. So it's not a good or bad thing. It's just making sure that those terms agree with your goals. No one goes into a job thinking, I'm going to be an entrepreneur one day. So that's where I committed an error, or, you know, or where I didn't think fully through, because I was just so excited. So if I were to give any wisdom to anybody out there, it's that. Just know what you're signing. And if you need to hire an attorney for $100 to $200 to review a document for you, it's worth it. You know, I think it's something that people just overlook because they're just like, let me get my foot in the door. But then after the fact, you have to deal with like, other issues where you don't know how it's going to affect you. Luckily, I've been okay, but that's life. Another thing I would say is always bring someone back for follow-up, even if you get to a point where you've been doing Botox, consistently and no one's called or no one's been upset. Remember that not everybody is going to have the courage, or some people are just shy to say, Steph, like, I didn't like how that came out. I think you dropped my brows, or I think this wasn't enough, or I think you missed a spot. I have some weird movement. How else will you learn? And at first you're embarrassed or you're ashamed because you don't have the confidence to address it, but you got to have those awkward moments, and I had a ton of them. So right now, addressing any kind of issue feels okay for me. And I take pride in saying that. I'm never intimidated by anyone that's unhappy or that needs correction, because I know how to make them feel better. Yeah. And I know it's not a determination of like me and my skill set and, my professionalism. It's just in this field, there's, it's never black and white, right? It's always just trying to learn the person's face. And with new patients, you always have to be open to follow up and to hearing them and always learning. And I know the top injectors in the country are still learning. So that's my top, definitely advice.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I agree with both of those points. No one knows where their career is going to lead them. So always, even if you're excited in the beginning, check the contracts, check what matters to you most. And then also the follow-ups too. I mean, your community, how you grow your business is only as strong as your last client, right?
Exactly.
So, the feedback, readjusting, going back to the drawing board.
And people only remember how you treat them.
Yeah.
So if you are always listening and always respectful and always open-minded to just hearing them, instead of just saying, no, you're fine, or just that approach, they're always going to come back to you because they know that you're trying, right? And I promise you, no one will ever blame you for saying, we could have done a little more, They won't, just don't be afraid is my thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
How did you gain the confidence to kind of like do your first patient?
I was not confident. You mean my first patient at the med spa?
Yeah, or when you started injecting, how were you confident enough? Okay.
I have to say, I'll give credit where credit's due. I had very good training. Okay. We had representatives from all of the top companies, that we know of, Galderma, Allergan, all the sorts of companies. And then after we were trained by the reps, we also had one-on-one training with models at the med spa, and that was free of charge. So the preceptor was with us. The training was maxed out at about 3 injectors. Sometimes it was 2. And we had that hands-on experience, like a lot of experience, a couple days, sometimes 3 days for fillers. They also split up our training in basic injectables versus advanced injectables. So it was great training. I will tell you, my first patient on my own, I was not confident. I took a photo, ran out to like my mentor, showed her, I'm like, did I take the photo right? So with that, I tell you, like, I had questions galore. But I think what gave me the confidence is when I saw my first smile, when I showed someone the mirror. I think something happened in me where it was like a switch, and I'm like, I think I'm good at this. I think I'll be okay, right?
Yeah.
So,
nice. And now, being so many years later, how big is it building a portfolio of your work? You started off at one point, now you're at this point. How big is that? Keep building up.
I'll tell you, I go back to my very first post on my Instagram, and it wasn't bad, right? They were pretty good classic lips. They were symmetrical, which I'm proud of in the beginning. But they were just nothing like, oh my gosh, nothing impressive. So I think it's super important to show growth, first of all. I think everyone wants to know that their injector is human and that they went through growth and that they started somewhere and ended up somewhere else. So I'm glad that I started when I did, and I started late. I started like 3 years in. I wasn't posting until then. Yeah. So, I already had some time learning, but I think also it's important that, the progression, of social media. So I think showing up every single day has helped build trust, with all those people who have been following me since the beginning. Wow. And actually, I'll tell you a strange story. Not strange, but interesting, but I was just in shock. I went to a concert on Friday and I was chatting with someone I hadn't seen in a long time, and someone taps me on the shoulder. It was an older woman I've never seen before. And she said, "That's her. That's the Plump room." And I almost was so shocked because I didn't know if to smile or I was turned red, and it was just so nice. And she told me, she's like, "I've been following you since you were the filler fairy." That was my handle before. Yeah. I chose my business name. So I knew she knew when she said that. And it was just such a moment for me because I knew that she's like, "I'm going to come see you. I've been seeing your work for so long." And that just proved to me what I just told you about building trust and confidence, with people. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, no, definitely. And that shows the power of building a brand, You started off, you were posting, you didn't think people are always watching.
Always.
Maybe not be liking your posts, but they're engaging with your posts. And it takes a person to see your work over and over again to really decide, hey, I want to come in and see this. For sure.
Yeah, I'm a consumer too. I mean, I'll watch and watch until I'm like, that's the one that sold me. Mm-hmm.
What was the process of building your brand, and how did you come up with the name and things of that nature?
I'll tell you, I think the reason why I sat on, so I decided that I wanted to do this back in January. And it took me 6 months or maybe 5 months to actually, decide when I was opening, pull the trigger officially. Yeah. Because of the brand. Mm-hmm. I wanted to build down to, the brand colors, the name, the logo. I selected it all myself. I do have some very creative minds in my circle of friends, which I'm very grateful for. So I'll give credit there. The person that helped me design this room and all of, everything here, my friend Stephany, she had a lot of, input, but I wanted it to be right. I wanted it to be something that can stay with me for a while, and not something that would fade away or would be, difficult to take into new trends. So it took me a really long time to decide on branding. One thing, aside from colors and logo and appearance, is that I wanted people to see me as the person they can trust. Mm. So I wanted to reveal always photos that were unedited or untouched or unairbrushed. The only thing that I will edit in my photos if there's an obvious scar or disfiguration on their skin, I'll remove that for them. But I wanted all my content to always feel okay, she has imperfections. This isn't airbrushed. This isn't, altered. And I wanted people to know that, yes, you're seeing a very natural before and after, but I didn't bump her lips up or remove her lip wrinkles. I've seen so much perfection. I wanted to go the other way. I wanted to go the other way. And I wanted to show my face a lot on my social media because I think that, it helps people get to know me in a way. Yeah. So I knew that once I started the business as well. I wanted someone to put a face to the name and not just, who am I going to see when I walk in? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because I honestly think your brand says something to the consumer, right? Mm-hmm. And if trust is that, or I want to have the natural look is that, people are going to come to you just because they feel that, they understand that, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. Tell me, how impactful has social media been on you to your career?
Oh my gosh, it's been everything. It's been everything, actually. Well, we were talking earlier, I was telling you that I did build a website. It's the plumproommiami.com. It's a phenomenal website. It took 2 months to build back and forth. I wanted it to be just right. And I do think it's important to have a website because you need presence on the web. Mm. However, I have not yet, because when someone walks in also on their consultation, I ask, how did you find me? Mm-hmm. How did you find me? I want to know. I want to take inventory. So it's all been social media. Wow. 100% of people that have walked in has been at either someone that I know personally in my life or social media. And that just shows me that my consistency is working, that my content's working. And I'm just going to keep going at that consistency, because if I'm having success with what I'm posting and what I'm doing, I'm not going to change it. I do plan on implementing other marketing strategies, because I think that you should never go stale and you should always have several doors and avenues open. But I'll tell you, Jonathan, it's been everything. It's been 100% of my business. So it's very powerful.
Amazing, amazing. And, I always ask, is it, because a lot of people get it from like referrals, right? And eventually that happens to everybody. But social media is such a big, powerful tool for injectors nowadays. Like you're building a brand, you're building an audience for people to reach out and people to learn. So I think it's very important, like you just said. Is there anybody on social media that you would suggest to follow that gives away good content, good videos, things for providers or?
Yes, there's been a few that I've been following for a long time. I want to say Shino Bay. I mean, he is incredible. I've done a training at his office. I believe it was one of his PAs. Incredible. I mean, fantastic training. Also, Injector Bunny. I've been following her since I got hired in aesthetics. To me, I mean, I think I've learned the most from her. I am in her, it's called Patreon. I'm subscribed. So you pay a fee every month and she just releases like bulk content. So I think that's been a huge tool for me. I've never been afraid of implementing something on the spot. So when I see something or a different technique I've never tried, the very next day, if I have a patient for that service, I will do it. So she's very, very good at training virtually, but also I want to say Lamore, the Clinic USA. She's amazing. I mean, her class, I took her class recently as well in April. I thought it was full of just like very, very good tools. Even just for getting started on your own. Some of her checklists were key for me, like knowing where to buy supplies and the best resources. So very thankful for that course as well. And I know it's Aesthetic Extenders next month. I can't make it, unfortunately, but that is, I would say, the conference you want to aim for if you're going to do one a year, right?
For sure. How big is training and continuous education for you?
This field is nonstop. I mean, I think it's true for all of medicine. I think that you need to keep current with trends. So it's just like science is always evolving, aesthetics is always evolving. Two things. First, trends change. So what used to be in style was for example, lips, the Angelina Jolie pillows, right? That's not in style anymore. Now people walk in and show me Kylie, and it's that even top and bottom, and it's that full pillow across the bottom. And you always got to be willing to reinvent yourself. You're going to get great at something and they're going to switch it up on you, and you got to be ready. And it's just something that you have to get into your mind about this field. And then another thing is you will never be comfortable in every single ethnicity that comes through your door. That's something that took me a long time to learn, is because everyone's version or idea of beauty in the face is going to be totally different. And the American standards of beauty are not the Asian standards of beauty. And you have to be open to, they're like, well, I want this longer, I want this shorter. And it's definitely just dependent on culture and ethnicity. And I think it's super interesting, an injector that's willing to see that in every single human. And that's why I listen. I listen the most, because you will never be comfortable with every single person that walks in the door. Everyone's going to want something totally different, and you can't impose what you think is beautiful on anyone. So that's what keeps it interesting, is having to change. Everything would get dull if you're not continuing education, in my opinion. When I have a day where I'm doing a content day, that's what I'm doing. I'm looking up new videos. I'm watching my Patreon. I'm digging on, who released a course. Those things are important. And it connects you to the community, the injector community,
Yeah, for sure. And that's a big point too, because, and I'm glad you pointed that out, like every ethnicity have different styles of beauty, right? And if you don't have the continuous education to learn this or this, then you're gonna constantly limit yourself in your business. So that's so important. Very, very important. I like that. I like that a lot. So I want to talk about men versus women, right? So, and again, back to the trends, right? What are trends that are for women right now? And what trends are you seeing for men right now in this industry?
To be honest, I was talking to a good friend of mine about this the other day, and I don't know if it's just me. You know, I know you have experience with other injectors, definitely, but I've seen a huge increase in men being interested in preventing or slowing down the signs of aging. And I'm happy about that because it doesn't have to be as tight, or it doesn't have to be as smooth as maybe a woman would want it. I mean, if they do, great. But it doesn't have to be scary. But I am seeing an increase in male clients, and I love it. A lot of interest in microneedling, so reducing pore size and just kind of refreshing the complexion. And definitely the neurotoxins. I have had interest in nose filler and under eye filler for men as well. Mostly just that for me. With women, I mean, everything under the sun. There's women that walk in and say, I have no idea, Steph. Just tell me what I need, you know?
Yeah.
Or they say, like yesterday, I had a woman come in. She's a friend of mine, actually. And she said, I know I need a chin. I'm like, girl, like, how do you know you need a chin? We did do the chin filler. It definitely, you know, that is what she needed. But some people know and some people don't. So I think with women, it's more, I want to look better. You know, it's usually just wrinkle relaxers and accentuating their own features. With older women, it's a little bit more of a step-by-step process because it takes building and it takes, you know, several appointments. But I think overall, it's just accentuating for people around my age. I say the older woman is looking to lift, of course. So I do a lot of cheeks and jawlines and chins and just like reframing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. What celebrity you get most look alike? Like I know you said Kylie Jenner earlier, but who else would you?
I actually got a Cameron Diaz the other day. They just love her bone structure and the fact that her face is just so, I don't know, just so open. It's mostly Kylie and Kim. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna tell you it's anything different. Very basic, but they've done their injectables with someone clearly very good because it's very attractive to the community. Can't think of anyone else right now, but mostly people are, instead of celebrities, they're bringing me younger photos of themselves. So I like that because it's more realistic. It's the younger patients that will bring me like maybe a celebrity because they're just accentuating what they already have. But mostly people just want to look like what they look like maybe 5 or 10 years ago.
Nice. Just reversing time.
Just reverse, yeah. Just kind of a little bit of an erase in 10 years. Yeah. Yeah.
Super cool. Super cool. Now, I wanted to talk more about plastic surgery versus aesthetics, right? So you get a patient in your office and they're like, I'm considering either getting, what would you say, hypothetically, a facelift versus just getting injectables. Common. How do you know when to tell them, hey, you know, I got to refer you off to plastic surgery, this isn't worth it? Or, you know, we can do this over time and you can see dramatic results?
I think for me, it's definitely a question of skin laxity and just how far, and then also budget. People think, or I mean, sometimes you can get injectables that will end up being less costly than plastic surgery. But when you're at the point where you're comparing plastic surgery to injectables, you probably need a little bit more lift and help than the injectables. So over a series of time, you may end up spending more with your injectables to achieve the same result. However, it just depends, you know, how comfortable are they with going under the knife? Do they have conditions where they can't have anesthesia? Do I feel that with my treatments, they're going to spend $10,000 to achieve the same thing they're going to achieve, you know, 5 doing plastic surgery? So it just depends on what their limitations are. If they don't want to do anything more invasive than plastic surgery, then I come up with a treatment plan for them. You know, it's usually something that I type up an email and then we come up with a document, and they have a step-by-step breakdown of how fast we're going to do what. And it's going to take a lot of, patience and maybe over time. But it just depends on them. How much are you willing to spend with injectables, or do you want plastic surgery, or do I feel personally with my skill level that I can't achieve the lift you're looking for? And I'm always going to be honest with them, because I want the best decision for them at the end of the day. I mean, I'm a nurse at the end of the day, a business owner second. So I'm always going to do right by them first, right? So I just want them to make the right choice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What are some common tips that you can give to an everyday consumer if they want to get into skincare, things like that?
I want to say, yes, the quality of your products matter. I've used so many different skincare lines. I mean, I won't name any specifically just because there's so many great ones out there. But I want to say that consistency, and I know I sound like a broken record, but consistency is the only thing that's going to help you. Exfoliating once a week, SPF every single day. I wear it when I don't even leave the house. I mean, other than that, you want to make sure that you're using a double cleanser, 2 cleansers. Anything else might just be extra depending on what you're fighting in your skin. So, I mean, if you have pigment, you want to go vitamin C. It just depends what add-ons. Yeah. I could go on and on. I won't get specific, but SPF, exfoliating. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of microneedling. I do it twice a year. My skin's never been better. I do 2 peels a year and 2 microneedlings a year. And that also helps with stimulating collagen. So if you're someone that doesn't want to be doing your injectables so often, it's a little trick.
Nice. Now, speaking of product, like so many celebrities have skincare brands, from like Kim K to Pharrell to
J-Lo.
A lot. How do you feel about these endorsed celebrity skincare brands?
I'm indifferent. Like, I don't feel anything about them. I just know I wouldn't buy them. I mean, I think it's great that, I support the hustle, so that's great. But I feel that I can buy, something that's just as clean for like maybe half the price, or that's maybe going to last me longer. And I prefer to stick with what I know rather than just like, oh my God, that's a new product. If it's working right now and I'm not breaking out because that's my kind of skin. I have very acne prone skin. I'm not going to change it, so I'm happy for them and all their success. And I think if the consumer buys it and it works, that's fine. But I think if you're using something, don't just discontinue it and interrupt your consistency to try the new brand or the new beautiful packaging, because it is beautiful.
Yeah, no, I get you for sure.
It's hard. It sells people.
It does. You're like, I want to look like that.
Yeah, it's just,
But they don't really even use that too.
I bet.
Nice. So nowadays, more people are becoming more open about getting injectables, things like that, whether it's celebrities or I heard a pastor doing it the other day. Like, it's becoming more socially acceptable for everybody.
It is. Slowly, but yeah.
How do you feel about it? But on Instagram, a lot of people are hiding it. They're showing these pictures and it's not really them, or they're doing these things. How do you feel that negatively, or how do you feel like it impacts the industry, negatively or positively?
That's actually something that hinders this industry a little bit, is that when someone's, working out with their trainer, they'll post themselves in the mirror and tag their trainer, or like they'll post their body with their results, or like if someone tries like a new face mask or like, anything, they try something new, or like they bought a new shirt at a boutique and it's their favorite shirt, they don't mind tagging that person's store. But that's something that's hard with this industry. And this is reason why I ask for reviews so much, because when someone has a good experience, unfortunately, it's just not in most people's comfort zone to post and say, hey, got my lips done by Steph, at the Plump room, or got my new chin. Like, no one wants to talk about it. And I fully respect that. And social media is a part of my consent form. But I also verbally get consent from the person for social media, because there's a lot of privacy still going on. I've been lucky. Most people will just say, don't tag me. Cool. I just want the content. I'm not going to tag you. But there are some people that just do not feel comfortable. And I 100% understand and respect that. But also no one will take a selfie and tag you. Like I probably, if you look at my selfie highlight right now, I might have 15 or 20 over the last 5 years almost, it's inching there in that direction. Like you said, people are getting more comfortable, but I think they're getting more comfortable in discussing it personally. Like, hey, I got this done, and it'll get there. I know it will. Grateful for all my friends that do post, thank you. But it's just a comfort thing. I think we're inching there and I'm glad we are, but it's just another way we have to get creative, because it's not there quite yet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I spoke to a lot of different providers, and they're starting to say people want to be on Instagram, right? That people want to be like their model on Instagram.
Yeah.
So people are becoming more like, get a little fame for a moment. So they love it.
Yeah.
So it's becoming more.
More and more. Mm-hmm.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit more about community. So community as far as injectors are concerned, how big is it to have a good community and to know other people that are in your field?
I mean, I think that's something that I'm looking to get more involved in. I do have several mentors within the industry that have helped me in either getting the business started. They've shared all their knowledge with me, what works and what doesn't. Very blessed there. I've had mentors, back from when I started injecting that have guided me and told me like, you didn't do so good right here. So I have those core people in my life that I know I can always go to. But my goal for the next 6 months is to find, go to the dinners, like go to conferences, go to events, like find events in my industry and, in the community where I can meet other injectors and you never know who you're going to meet. I'm huge on who in terms of anything. Like I think that applies across the board. You don't know when you're going to meet the next person that's going to change your life. And it sounds cheesy, but it's happened to me so many times just because I decided to show up and I didn't feel like it. And I'm like, I'm just gonna show up. And it teaches you something. I think being immersed is super important because I think that's how everyone grows. I think, say someone offers something that I don't offer, I can refer them, and then vice versa. And it's not just that. It's creating a sense of family with work. And I think people will continue growing in this field and continue loving this field if they feel happy. And I think if you have a social component or almost a responsibility to the community, you feel like you don't ever want to stop. So that's why I want to immerse myself. I want to make sure that I'm someone that they can rely on and that there's someone I can rely on. It's vice versa.
Nice.
So it could be a very beautiful thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
How do you stay motivated in this industry? How do you prevent burnout and things of that nature?
I want to say patient load. Obviously, when you're opening a business, you've invested a lot. I've invested obviously a lot of time and money, but when you get to a point where your skill is compromised and you start forgetting to do little things, maybe not like, and I know if another injector watches this, they'll know exactly what I'm saying, is that you forgot to like do something silly that like is only important to you, nothing happened to the patient. But like little things like that, you're rushing. Yeah. You're rushing because you're pressed for time. And I think that's the moment to stop and reflect. Because I think you have to almost feel like each person is your only person in the day. You have to almost slow down and reduce patient load and just say, what is my maximum for the day to keep me sane, to keep me at my A game, I think that's super, super important.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, to keep you almost like in your groove, right? Because you always want your injector in their groove. You don't want them to be 50% stuff. You want her 100%, So I think that always like builds confidence and it helps you it helps you feel good about every single person that walks out. Mm-hmm.
What do you listen to any podcasts or anything like that helps?
Mm-hmm. My favorite is Ed Milet. I think he speaks to me, just his demeanor and his tone, the way it just feels like he's talking to me. And I also like Trent Shelton. Sheldon, did I say that right? I love him. He's a little bit aggressive sometimes. If you don't like that, maybe not him. But I think Trent Shelton and Ed Milet are my favorites. There's been a lot. I can't remember the names right now, but those are my top two.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. They're amazing for new entrepreneurs, facing hurdles, confidence, knowing how to come up from a fall or failure. They're really, really good at all those things. Mm-hmm.
Nice. How big is health and wellness for yourself?
Health and wellness is, I'm definitely someone that loves to be active. I love to make good choices in terms of my health and my body. And I like to almost throw a little bit into that with my consultations. A lot of people don't know, but just something so silly as water intake can make your injectables last so much longer. These products are attracted to water. And being dehydrated will have you in the chair faster. It's just something so simple. Believe it or not, yes, if you're an active person, maybe you'll burn through the product a little quicker, but it's more to do with your genetic metabolism than, someone that works out, if I'm going to put it. Yes, it does have somewhat of an effect, but it's more about your genetic, so if you don't stop working out because you're going to be getting your fillers and your Botox, So I think it's important to maintain an active lifestyle also because protein and collagen go hand in hand. So if you're consuming the right amount of macronutrients, you're also going to look younger, healthier. So it does tie in, it does.
Do you think living a healthy lifestyle, working out all the time, do you think that it's something that comes with the job? You have to, because patients are looking at you all day. They come in because they like your style, but then they also like you as a person, and how you look and how you take care of yourself. Do you think that has a lot to do with it?
It does, especially for me. I want to say, personally, I think back in my 20s, I used to work out because I thought I just wanted to look good. That was just it. And then the older you get, the busier you get. And when I started working out for mental health, everything changed. And now it's something that you can't miss. Even if it's I only have 30 minutes today because my schedule is packed, I got to go for 30 minutes. I got to sweat, even if it's a run. I think mental health will set the tone for the entire day for me. And then when I don't, what ends up happening is too much caffeine, extra crash, more eating. You're just unbalanced. Your hormones are unbalanced. Your mood is a little bit edgy. And I feel it. When I go 3 days, no exercise, it's crabby stuff is here, So yeah, it's important.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me, talking so much about the aesthetic industry and opening your own business and the tips. I'm sure there's so much people can grab from this interview and really take and apply to their everyday life.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, no worries. Tell everybody where they can find you, what you got going on, and anything you have next.
So I'm currently I'm in Coral Gables. I'm right behind Miracle Mile. We're on Aragon Ave. The name is The Plump Room on Instagram, and my website is theplumpροommiami.com. I have a lot of things planned next, big plans in the next 3 months, 6 months, and year. A lot of community involvement, a lot of extra training, new services. I won't spill all the secrets, but I'm excited. I want to get into more body treatments too.
Nice.
So thank you so much, Jonathan. I had a really good time. Thank you for making it fun and comfortable.
No worries. Amazing. I'm glad you came.
Thanks so much.
All right, and until next time, bye.
Bye.